So we got to go ahead and talk about this whole situation involving Rory, Brandon Jennings, and money that Joe Budden's been making with the podcast. Now, all of this does stem from a New York Times article where part of it was mentioned that he turned down a $44 million deal with Spotify that would have involved all content in general would have been only on Spotify, not even on YouTube at all. It's possible it could have been the same result with Patreon as well, but he turned down that 2-year deal to make $1 million a month, which kind of adds up by the end of the year, $12 million. Then Brandon Jennings said Joe deserves it. He got rid of Salt and Pepper, business started booming, and the cast is way better, man. Which resulted in Rory responding to Brandon Jennings. Last time I saw Tough Crowd was at Highlight Room. He went out of his way to speak to me and tell me how much he respected how I handled everything with the Joe shit. Also called Joe a goofy. I said, until you and Maul settle y'all shit, I don't even feel comfortable speaking. He said, I respect that. I can send you some merch. Strike my daughter down if I'm lying. This is some real weirdo shit. You can just congratulate Joe on his successes. I don't even know you like that. With Brandon Jennings responding to Rory saying, back in 2021, when I saw you in the corner, teary eyes, I did come up and say, keep your head up, and if you wanted gear, that was it. We never spoke on Maul or Joe, don't do that. You was in the club looking for sympathy. You got the little attention you wanted. Relax, buddy. Which Joe did say that he retweeted the Brandon Jennings tweet without reading the shots that was fired, so he deleted it. I got no beef with the son of Jake. Now, I'm not going to lie. Me, myself, I really didn't even peep the shots that were being fired at first until I read back and it said Salt and Pepper, Salt being Rory, and of course, Pepper being Maul. I don't know what his issue is with Maul exactly. It seems like him and Maul's got some sort of beef. I hope it's not nothing, too serious, because I ain't never really heard about them having issues behind the scenes. Unless, like, worst case scenario, they're Eskimo brothers. But I don't know if that could be a good enough reason to beef with somebody. Now all this is just really boiling up to a he said, she said, and, keeping it at that. And honestly, I do think that maybe if Brandon had a kind of just omitted the shots at Rory and Maul and just, congratulated Joe on his successes, we probably wouldn't even be here. But at the same time, Rory, he said he basically was the shoulder to cry on when everything was going down between you and Joe and the podcast fell apart. And it was probably arguably one of the most difficult times for anybody. And I can't help but think that all this really started from a New York Times article. Like, how does this start from a New York Times article praising the success of Joe Budden making almost $12 million a year because he turned down a $44 million deal from Spotify? Now, of course, I do realize people could try to do the math and think, well, actually, he would have been making more with the Spotify deal. Problem is, them episodes would have never been aired on YouTube. Now, could they have still been aired on Patreon and probably clips go out on Twitter? We don't know, but it's the internet. It's one of the things that unless Spotify is really tapped in like that, they won't be able to really control what gets clipped and put on Twitter. And they know that. Just like with Joe Rogan and the Call Her Daddy podcast, like, you're not going to be able to control what gets clipped and what don't. So, yeah, while it would have been a good bit more millions of dollars within those 2 years, and you do end up making less money, $12 million in a year, but really sometimes in life, less is more. Less money equals more freedom. And that's just off of Patreon alone. That's not accounting for the money he probably reels in from the YouTube monetization and everything else. And there already has been some inside jokes within the podcast saying, hey, like, are we going to get a raise? Does this mean we're going to get them Christmas bonuses or something like that? Or are you still going to just give us the yearly ham? One of the biggest rumors arguably that ever came out of that breakup back in 2021 was the amount of money that Rory and Maul was making a month. People were throwing around the number of $30,000 a month they were making. And if they were making $30,000 a month, I can understand if they were missing all of that money, but if they were missing very little, like a fraction, not even a fraction, half a fraction of $30,000, like it's one of the things that kind of goes off to the taxes. I wouldn't even think that's that much of an issue to really beg for the accounting to end up ultimately leaving the podcast in the first place. Because I don't know about y'all, there's a lot of people that work regular 9 to 5 jobs, that hate that shit, that if Joe Budden or anybody else offered them $30,000 a month to just sit at home, do a podcast, or matter of fact, relocate to Jersey altogether and start a brand new life and end up essentially doing a podcast from there, they would do it. They would just ask, where do I sign, Joe? And that would be the end of that. Because with that money, you'd be able to take care of a lot of things, arguably. But again, it goes back to what I said. If they were missing a good portion of that, I can understand the issue. But if it wasn't that much, like literally less than a fraction or less than 1% of a percent, it had just been a big old nothing. But y'all let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Till next time, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.